Before we get into the video, I want to give a special shout out to Sashina. You are one of the amazing people that has been here consistently from day one, and your feedback has greatly helped us shape the channel. Secondly, a lot of you have said that the narrations are too long. While I do understand that, my main goal for starting the channel was to teach, especially parents and gradients. Notwithstanding, your feedback is still very important to me, so I would tone down on the length of each narration. Now look at what we are walking into today. Officers are getting a call that should never be routine. A child reported alone on the side of a busy highway. Cold rain. Fast traffic. Zero room for mistakes. And from the officer's side of this camera, the first problem is simple. Get eyes on that kid and get them out of danger before anything else even matters. But these calls never stay simple. You can already feel it coming. The questions start stacking up fast. Where's the parent? Why is this child out here? Is somebody looking for them? Is somebody coming back? And if there is a history with CPS in the background, that adds a whole other layer of urgency. Because this is not just a bad moment. This might be a pattern. This matters right now because child welfare cases are in everybody's face lately, and every decision officers make is under a microscope. If you appreciate footage-based reactions that stay grounded and try to teach at the same time, hit subscribe and stay with me for this one.
How old are you? You're not in trouble. How old are you?
13.
Okay, do your parents know you're out here?
Yeah, I'm really close to home.
Okay, that's the only reason we were called is because it's real dangerous. It's rainy and there's cars driving fast. Where's home?
You won't get my mom in trouble.
What's that?
You won't get my mom in trouble?
I won't get your mom in trouble. I just want you to get home safely. Okay, give me 1 second. I'm going to turn my rear lights on. Yeah, you're not in trouble. I just don't want you to get hit by a car. It's raining and...
Yeah. You won't get my mom in trouble?
Is there a reason your mom's in trouble? She doing okay?
She's okay. It's just... We ran in trouble with CPS, but we cleaned our life up. And
Oh, okay.
I was a little mad.
Okay, so did you run away today? Or how'd you end up out here in the rain? It's cold.
Yeah. I was needed a second and she saw us close, and so I asked if it was okay.
Okay.
And she really didn't want me to.
Okay.
But I still did, and she's been following me. She knows where I am.
Oh, is she out here looking for you?
She's not looking for me. She knows the path I was taking, but she parks near it. I had to.
Okay.
I just, yeah.
Okay. Here, let me get you out of the cold. I'll get you home. Okay. That's all I'm worried about. Is I want to get you home. Okay. It's almost below freezing, and you're soaking. Are you cold?
Not really.
Not really. What's your mom's name?
I know her number too.
I think I've met her before. Do you stay with your grandparents sometimes?
Yeah.
Okay, I was actually out there with you that day. Do you remember me talking to you?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I remember. I was out with you guys.
Okay.
You doing okay?
Yeah, we're doing okay.
You live with your mom full time now, or are you still?
Yeah, we live with my mom full time now.
Okay.
We got it cleaned up, and we're doing pretty good.
Okay, that's good. You feeling all right?
Yeah.
Okay. So tell me again how you ended up here.
Well, so I just wanted to break because I was yelling at her and saying mean stuff, and I didn't want to get her angry.
Okay.
And then I just asked if I could just walk, and then she didn't want me to.
Okay.
But, so then she's been, following me, she's parked there, she's asked and made sure I'm okay.
Okay.
And all that stuff.
So where'd you get out of the car? Do you remember, what business you were by or what street you were by?
I don't know what it was, but it was like that. So you go there, you turn left, and there's the bike path. It was almost around there.
Did she pass you, or did she turn a different direction?
She's been going and stopping around me, she's making sure I'm safe.
Okay.
Yeah, she's always been around.
Do you know where she's at now?
I don't. If I'm assuming she's parked up right on this first road or at home.
Okay, waiting for you.
Yeah, normally she does it and she stops once at a good spot that's public, and she stops to make sure I'm okay.
Okay.
And I'm pretty sure she sounded like she really wanted me to get in, and probably by there she'd make sure I get in.
Okay. So you guys got in a little argument, or you were mad about what happened, so then you got out?
I didn't want to, because I was
Did you ask to get out of the car?
Yeah, I said hurtful things, and I didn't want to say more.
Okay.
And so I asked to step out, and she was reluctant and didn't really want me to, but she made sure I put on everything, and then I had a cold, and then she's been watching me, stopping me, making sure I'm okay, and stuff like that.
Okay.
The first thing that hits me is how the officer locks onto the real problem. This is a kid exposed on the shoulder, and everything else comes second. That calm voice is not just being nice, it is tactical. A scared teen will shut down fast if they feel accused, and on a highway shoulder, you do not get multiple tries. What adds weight here is what we know in the background. This family has already been on CPS radar before for neglect-type conditions. So when this kid is vague about where home even is and starts describing chaos with mom in the car, officers are hearing more than teenage drama. They are hearing possible instability and a pattern that has not been fixed. And this is the ugly reality. Cops become the emergency safety net when parenting collapses. They did not cause the mess, but they are the ones standing in the rain, trying to keep a child alive long enough for the system to catch up.
Were you out with me on that call where we almost busted through the door because the flies were in the windows and it turned out she actually lived there? Were you out with me on that? It was Sean? Okay, so we opened a CPS case on this mom because for deplorable conditions because the house there was like dead animals lying around and we thought somebody was dead in there. It was so bad. So this is her kid. So I recognized him, started talking to him. They got in some argument. She dumped him out of the car at the bike path on Grange Hall and drove home, left him to walk. And he's 13. He's soaking wet. This is the second time we've been called for no parent in their right mind would. She said he realized he forgot his cell phone in the car and she drove by and held it up to show him that she had it and kept driving and left him. I think he might be on the spectrum or have some autism, I think, is in the history. He seems okay. He doesn't seem injured in any way, but he's walking along 835, which is a high-speed road with no sidewalk in this weather, and he's soaking wet. Yeah, I don't think any parent in their right mind would dump their kid on a busy road like this and have them walk miles home in the rain and the cold. Still doing okay?
Yeah, I just saw my mom. She just passed by.
She just passed by?
Yeah, I was gonna get out, but I didn't want to.
Okay. She went that way?
She was coming this way, coming back to check.
Oh, like she was looking for you.
Yeah, I think she looked at us, and I think she might know it's me, but I'm not sure.
So she might be turning back around?
Yeah, she might be. I don't know.
How's it going?
Happy little boy.
Yep, we do. I don't know if you remember, I was out with you guys before over at your house on Straight Arrow.
Yeah.
So we found him running along the road, right?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead and I got all his side. Go ahead and explain to me what happened.
He was in a really angry mood about a competition that he had been at. He was cursing at me. He was trying to jump out of the car.
Okay.
So I was getting concerned about him, and so he pulled over. He got out of the car, and he's been walking home, and I've come up on him multiple times and said, "Come on, get in the car." He won't get in the car.
Okay. Has this happened before?
Yes.
So I've been out here with him for probably 20 minutes.
Okay.
Where have you been during that time?
I was trying to find him because I didn't know.
So how did he end up out of your sight?
Because he was walking this way and I had to turn around and come on back, and then I wasn't sure which way.
You could have followed him with slow speed and kept him. Okay, and why not?
I was trying to give him some space to cool down.
Okay. So I know last time I was out with you guys, he was staying with kind of grandparents part-time. Has he been with you full-time for a while?
Yes, and we've really been doing well. This is the first massive blow-up. He's had a few recently, which is why we're upping the counseling, where he's told me he's been Googling ways, things like that. And so that's what he was doing today. So.
Okay. Today you had a discussion. He was Googling ways to commit suicide.
Well, today he didn't talk about that. He was just saying that he was so stupid he was better off.
Okay. So he's 13. He says he's better off. And you know how it sounds. You're leaving him in 30-degree weather in the rain to walk miles home. He's out of your sight for 20-plus minutes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and he's a juvenile on the younger side.
Yes, sir.
On a busy highway with no sidewalk.
Yes, sir. I thought he had gone the other way.
Did you let him out of your sight?
Yes.
Okay. He said that while he's been walking in this, he's seen you pass by a few times and not stop.
I have stopped every single time. So.
Okay, but before you said you didn't know he was here, you thought he was on Grand Hall.
I haven't stopped him on this road, no.
So I'm gonna make a call to our supervisor. Okay, I'm not gonna release him to you yet. What I'm gonna have you do is go sit in your car. We're gonna pull over there and get off the road. Just kind of decide how we want to handle it, right? Because it's kind of an unusual situation. I know there's history you have with CPS, right? Is there still an open case? It's been closed.
And then you hear the officers start connecting dots from an older call, and my stomach drops. When a crew is calmly talking about a prior CPS case with conditions that bad, it means this is not a one-off bad day. That is a track record, and it changes how they have to treat everything they're seeing right now. What people miss is how much history rides into these moments. CPS can have a file a mile long, and it still takes a fresh crisis for anyone to get eyes on the kid. Again, that is not a knock on any one worker. It is the reality of overloaded systems and high thresholds. And if this teen is on the spectrum or has developmental challenges, the risk multiplies fast. Wandering near traffic, soaking wet, maybe not reading danger cues well. The officer is not just doing a welfare check. He is trying to prevent a tragedy before it becomes the headline.
This road has no sidewalk. What's the reason you let him out of your view? Why did you drive away?
to be honest, to make a little bit of an impact on him that, like...
Make him feel like you might leave him?
Not that I would never leave him.
Okay.
But he's telling me, like, better off without me, and so I was like, well, let me let him out of his sight for a little bit, and just let that kind of reality hit.
Okay.
If that makes sense. Not that I was never going to come back for him.
Yeah.
Just to kind of make a little bit of impression. He gets in this mode where nothing you say matters.
Okay, so maybe a bit of poor judgment.
Absolutely.
Okay, because we got the no sidewalks in the weather, right? It's inherently dangerous walking along this road. I'm not even sure if it's legal for an adult to run along this road. All right, it's considered a highway.
I did not realize it was considered a highway.
Yeah, it is considered a highway, and also he could be picked up by a stranger. He was out of your sight for an extended period of time, right?
Sure.
He could have been gone, and you never would have known. So he's a nice kid, right? I've talked to him. He's always smiling. He's always friendly. Did you consider the possibility of a stranger rolling up saying, "Hey, let me get you help," and then you never see him again?
I saw you guys a couple of times, but I didn't know that you had him.
Okay.
At first, and so I was still looking for him. I definitely thought about that.
Okay.
I've been scared looking for him.
Okay.
But I thought he was okay because I kept seeing him. And then when I couldn't find him, I started to get really, really nervous.
Okay. Go ahead and have a seat in your car. We're going to get off the road. We'll pull into the entrance way over there. Just stay there. We'll pull over there and get off the road just so we're not blocking traffic. Okay? So I'm going to release him back to you in a second, okay? I'm going to talk to him. I want him to hear anything we're saying, okay?
Okay.
I called a supervisor and discussed the situation, okay? So what we're going to do is issue a criminal summons for child endangering with the mandatory court date, okay? You're not going to jail. It's a misdemeanor. But based on, so kind of what I've just discussed with you a little bit, the facts of the situation, his age, the location and the roadways involved, the temperature, the weather, the fact that he was out of view for an extended period of time, that we had to be called out by a stranger, right, to find him. All of the things are taken into account, right? So this citation we issued, it's called child endangering. It's for a lapse of due care that's responsible for because he's in your custody, okay? Any questions about that? Okay. Again, I'm sending him over to you in a second. I just wanted to, again, I told him, he's worried about you, right? You're his mom, so told him you're not going to jail, nobody's in trouble is what I told him. Because this is between you and us in the court. He doesn't have to know. There's no reason for that. Okay. It is going to open up another CPS case. Okay. So is the previous one? Is that the first one?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this would be the second one.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, now the camera swings to Mom, and you can feel the officers shift gears into accountability mode. They are not yelling. They are not posturing. They are building a clean timeline and locking it to the real-world danger of that roadway. That matters because these cases live or die on details later. And here's the bigger piece people forget. When a parent already has CPS history, the next report is not just another bad decision write-up. It can trigger faster removal decisions, mandatory services, and court oversight. That is why you hear them reference it like a weight in the room. Also, listen to the language. Criminal summons instead of hauling her off immediately. That is a common pressure release valve in family cases. Hold the line legally, but keep the kid from watching Mom get taken away in cuffs on the shoulder of a highway. Done?
Yeah. You want to say it?
So here's what I just called Brad because all this stuff's new to me. All right. He said if we can find someone to watch a kid, then we need to actually lock her up. Okay. So we actually need to just write her a ticket, lock her up. It'll be the next day, next available court date, 11 a.m. What we can do is we could follow her back to the house, and that way she can drop her car off, we don't have to tow it, release the child back to the grandpa, and then hook her.
Okay.
He could probably go sit in Grandpa's car now if you want.
Grandpa knows that he's going to take.
Man, listen to how this ends. It is not sirens and chaos. It is paperwork, voice-level conversations, and adults trying to put a broken situation back into a shape that will not get a kid killed. That last little stretch where they are talking logistics, who is watching who, where the car goes, how the child gets released to a safer adult, that is the part the internet never clips. Everybody wants the flashy moment. The real work is the unglamorous coordination where one bad handoff can undo everything. From the officer's side of the camera, I'm thinking, keep eyes on the kid, keep the adults separated emotionally, and make sure the next stop is stable. Because the highway was the emergency. Home is the long game. And that is what hits me here. The officers are not just ending a call. They are trying to close a loop in a way that reduces the odds of a repeat. When you hear them talk about following mom back, arranging the tow, getting the child to the grandfather, you are watching a street-level safety plan being built in real time. Nobody in uniform wants to be the villain in a family story. They want the kid alive and accounted for, and they want the next agency in line to have something concrete to work with. This is also where you feel the weight of prior history without them even saying much. A family that has already been on the radar creates this tension where every decision has consequences. Not just legal consequences for mom, but stability consequences for the child. Officers know that if they cut corners now, the case file later is a mess. And if they overcorrect emotionally, you get a scene that traumatizes the child again. So they ride that narrow line. Calm voice. Clear instructions. Document everything. Get a responsible adult physically in front of them before they let go. What I keep coming back to is the danger cue that started all of this. A kid on the side of a busy road in cold rain is not a family argument. That is an environment that kills people. Cars drift, drivers text, one splash of standing water and a vehicle slides. And the officer is standing there with traffic ripping by, trying to keep a teenager focused and safe. That is the kind of risk civilians do not feel through a camera. On screen, it is just a shoulder. In the moment, it is a blade edge. Now zoom out. This is the uncomfortable truth. Law enforcement keeps getting used as the after-hours child welfare response team. It is not because cops are social workers. It is because cops are the only ones who can show up right now and impose order when the situation is already unsafe. CPS is part of the solution, family services are part of the solution, courts are part of the solution. But none of that matters in the first 10 minutes when a kid is exposed to traffic and whether in panic. That is the gap. Officers fill it. And when the public asks, why are police involved in family issues, this is why. Because danger does not schedule itself for business hours. Because neglect is not always a bruise. Sometimes it is a decision that leaves a child in the worst possible place at the worst possible time. I also want to give a measured note here. When officers choose options like a summons and a controlled release to a guardian, people read it as soft. I do not see soft. I see targeted. They are trying to keep the child from experiencing a roadside spectacle. They are also setting conditions for the next steps, making sure there is an adult with actual responsibility taking custody and building a record that can support whatever comes next. That is accountability with restraint. Going forward, what matters is follow-through. If there is a grandfather stepping in, that is a stabilizing factor. If CPS is involved again, the hope is the system does not just log it and move on. A pattern needs intervention, not another warning. And for the community watching, this is a reminder that the first responders are often the last line between a vulnerable kid and a headline. If this one hit you in the gut, there is another case on the channel that will do the same thing in a different way. It starts with a tiny kid wandering and ends with officers having to locate and confront the adult who should have never let it happen. Watch that one next and tell me if you notice the same theme: police stepping into a parenting vacuum and trying to keep a child alive long enough for the system to catch up. Done.